Good afternoon, traders. This video is all about my absolute favorite pattern to day trade, and that is the ABCD pattern, probably as old as the stock market itself. So what that means is that anyone who's been trading for any length of time knows, understands, and trades this pattern every single day. That is a great thing. If you are trading with other traders, you're trading with a trend, you're all going to move the price action together, and you'll all benefit from that movement. So here's an example of cartoon version. We're going to look at real charts in just a second, but this is a nice easy way to teach this and understand this. Point A marks the lowest price in the pattern. Point B is a new high for the price in the pattern. You can see here a previous high was established. This could be from the pre-market or the aftermarket. It all depends on what session that you're trading in. But this is the previous high. B breaks out through that high. Now, that is our signal to look for an entry. From B to C, we get a pullback. Whenever a new candle makes a new high, that's where I like to take an entry because it has a high probability of continuing higher after that. And who cares where D is? As long as I get 2R out of the trade, that's all that matters. But D is usually higher than B, not always. And sometimes this pattern can fail. Of course, even the best patterns fail. So you always have a stop loss, and that would, for me, would be the low of the previous candle to my entry. With one caveat, if the candle I enter on, the bottom of that candle is lower than the previous candle, then I'll put my stop loss there. So we'll look at that on real charts in just a second. So what makes the ABCD pattern so awesome? It has a high probability of going to 2R if the setup is right. So what's the setup? It's everything to the left. If the price was up here and worked its way down, and then all of a sudden you see this pattern, I personally would not trade that because you don't really know if this thing is going to really reverse and continue higher after that, or this is just a pullback on the way down further. So even if it fails, the risk is low, especially on the 1 minute chart. A lot of new traders are afraid of the 1 minute chart because it moves very quickly. A lot of people call that noise. And but if you understand how your position size and is affected by the time frame, you know that on the 1 minute chart, you are taking the absolute lowest risk you can possibly trade. If you go to the 5 minute chart and you keep your position size the same, your risk is increasing exponentially. So keep that stuff in mind. The ABCD pattern all by itself doesn't mean much what's going on to the left. I kind of went over that already. So let's look at some real charts now. So these are actual charts from actual trades that I took last week or earlier this week. And there's a video on my YouTube channel of every single one of these charts that I'm going to show you with an actual trade. So like here's the ASE trade with this chart. So you can watch, and every single one of these has a video. You can go and see what the actual trade looked like in real time. But if you look at that cartoon that I just showed you here, the ABCD pattern, and then you look at this chart and you try to imagine where is the ABCD pattern in this chart, you're probably going to think, here's point A, here's point B, point C, somewhere over here, and D is there. And you wouldn't be wrong, but that's not really how I trade it. The ABCD pattern, as I said, exists on all time frames, and it also exists kind of within the time frame and within the ABCD pattern itself. So what the heck does that mean? Let's look at the next chart. It's the exact same chart as this, but it's all marked up. So here's where I'm looking at the ABCD pattern. Here's point A, point B. This line marks the high of the previous session, and we can see that the price is broken out through the previous session. So that's my signal to look for an entry, but only if the prerequisites for trading the ABCD pattern have been met. So what are those? Number one, the stock must be in the top 3 of the top gainers list organized by volume. Let's look at Webull real quick. And let's say that I just opened it up and go to the markets pane, top gainers, select pre-market. If you're trading in the pre-market, select day. If you're trading during the day, the after hours, it doesn't really work. And I'm not going to get into why in this video, but then click on all and then organize the screener by volume. And then here is the top 3 stocks, right? So now you just have to figure out, are they in your price range? And the other criteria that I like to go by is if it's not the number 1 stock, is it less than 100 million share float size? That gives it a lot more ability to move up in price with lower volume. But if it's the number 1 in volume, I don't really care what float size it is because there is plenty of volume there to move the price. Number 3, is it trading above the 2 previous sessions, right? So here's the high of the previous session marked out, so we know that it's trading above the previous session. And if you watch the video on this trade, you'll see that it's also trading above the previous day. So if and only if it's yes to all 3, then you must look for an entry, right? I use the word must there because it doesn't mean that I just kind of watch it casually and say, ooh, I don't know, maybe this one will work out. Let's see what happens. Oh, it did. Oh, I missed the entry. This has such a high probability of working out that I have to take an entry on this according to my plan and my strategy. I absolutely have to. And of course, I use a stop loss. So if I'm wrong or if it doesn't work out, then I'm protected. So here's what happened with this trade when I took it. Again, you can watch the video. My ideal entry was here. I believe it was at 340. Just looking, I'm sorry, not 340. My ideal, so I got in at 343. I believe my ideal entry was 339 or 340, something like that. So I caught a little slippage on the way in. That's okay. When these stocks have a ton of volume coming in and the price is moving very quickly, you can catch slippage, and a lot of time that's an indication of strength and just more reason that you want to be in the stock. So it doesn't change where my stop loss is. It's always based on the low of the previous candle. I think the low of this candle was 328. So my stop loss is 327. So what is this 1R? That's my risk. It's the difference between my entry and my stop loss. So 343 minus 327 is 16 cents of risk. And then my 2R profit target is 2 times that risk. 2 times 16 cents is 32 cents plus 343 is 375. There's my profit target. And there you can see this line that represents my profit target. If you watch the video, you'll see that when the price went to 375, I had a limit order out. It was filled there. So that was a successful 2R trade, trading the ABCD pattern. Simple as that. We're just going to look at a couple more examples. And these I haven't marked out, but I did mark out actually my stop loss and my profit target. My entry was for the break of this candle. So it was right here. That was my entry. So from here to here is 1R, and then from here to here is 2R. And this is the high of the previous session. Again, there is a video on ANCN from a few days ago if you want to watch that trade. Also XTLB. This is the weirdest ABCD pattern, but it still is an ABCD pattern. Here's the high of the previous session. You can mark this out as point A. You could say this is point A too. It doesn't matter. And then the pullback happened all in one candle. And it was a very small range pullback, but it was still a pullback. And as soon as I see a pullback, then I look for a candle to make a new high, which happened on this candle. And the blue line represents my entry, and I got it exactly where I wanted to, 510. So from here to here is 1R, and here to here is 2R. And you can see that was easily hit on this one candle. Yeah, this thing went crazy and shot up higher. I don't really care about that. I just want to get my 2R and get out, because you never know. Sometimes my target gets hit by 1 cent, or on the cent. Sometimes I get stopped out by 1 cent, maybe it goes to 625 and comes all the way back down and stops me out. So I don't care what happens after this. All I care about is my 1R stop loss and my 2R profit target, and that's it. So hopefully this video was helpful for you. If it was, please like and subscribe. Let me know if you have any questions about this pattern or any of the trades I take, and I'll see you in the next video. Oh, I always like to leave you with, always take your stop loss no matter what. Honor your profit target, and you should be green in the long run. Take care.